pop up in a second. It will say the recording has started, and then I'll just cut out the first 5 seconds and the last 20 seconds, or whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to do an introduction, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, all right?
All right.
Okay. Hi, Tim-Oliver. Thank you for coming. I'm sure you're very busy, so thank you for taking the time to join us here today. So before we get started, I've got about 3 questions for you, but before we do get started with those questions, can you please just tell our viewers a little about yourself?
Thank you, Jean-Pierre. My name is Tim-Oliver Mattern. I'm nearly 55 years old and currently working for a company called Bechem out of Hagen, Germany, and I'm responsible for the global sales into the steel industry.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So the first question is that you've recently chaired our European Base Oil and Lubricant Online Roundtable event. For the benefit of those who didn't attend or were at a different table, can you please give us a 2 to 3 minute summary of the key points discussed at your table?
Yes, Jean-Pierre, of course. So we had the topic of re-refined base oil that was led by Joel Garrett and myself. I talked a little bit about the CO2 footprint calculation that has been quite important for future views on the overall CO2 emission of bigger industrial plants, where you not only look into the emission coming from the process, but also from the raw materials that you put into the process, and the lubricants is part of that. And if you understand how a lubricant has been formulated by base oils, additives, and where the base oils come from, then you need to understand how much CO2 has been already exposed to the nature before it already arrived at your plant. And the topic around the re-refined base oils is very, very important because the quality today is so good, and also the CO2 impact is much lower than with new oil, because it's already been refined, and it's just been collected and then cleaned and re-refined. Therefore, this is a great example of putting lubricants together and save CO2 in kind of recycling process.
Brilliant. So how can companies accurately calculate the CO2 emissions associated with lubricants, and what steps can they take to reduce those emissions?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and this is something I think it will become more and more important for the future. Today, there are some roughly lump sum or ballpark figures for the CO2 emission that a grease or a hydraulic oil or a gear oil has created from cradle to the gate of the company that purchased this particular lubricant. Some of these websites from VSI, so the German Lubrication Manufacturer Association, or the UELI, or other associations started a project some months ago to work with additive suppliers, base oil suppliers, and also the lubricants manufacturers to build a database where you can go into and say, okay, I have a hydraulic oil, an HLP 46, which is a mineral base oil, and a new fresh base oil, and then you can get the exact CO2 footprint for this particular product. And this helps you to understand, okay, I purchase whatever 10 tons of this product per year, how much CO2 emission is been created just by purchasing this particular hydraulic oil.
And finally, my last question is, what would you say is the advantage of chairing a table as opposed to joining the table as a guest? And would you recommend others to attend these sorts of online events that we run?
Definitely, this is it's a nice format. It's actually very interactive, and I was so glad that while I was presenting, lots of questions were coming up, and we took the questions immediately and answered it, and it was quite lively, quite interactive. I can recommend both. I can recommend to chair a table when you have a good topic to share and then discuss with others and learn also out of that discussion from others who might be different experience, different views. But if you participate, you're absolutely free to jump between tables into different topics. If you think that's not the right topic, just move to another table, and therefore, yeah, you can just learn from this kind of events. There's so much energy and ideas that are shared. So I think it's a nice format. It's something worth to go for it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully that gives a lot of other people a bit of an overview of what was covered at your table. And yeah, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pierre, and I look forward to the next roundtable session.
I think we might need to do that last question again because the connection went a little bit funny at the end.
Okay.
He started cutting off a little bit, and I was like, I wasn't sure. So should we just go from the last question, and then I'll just cut out this bit in the middle?
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And finally, my last question is, what would you say is the advantage of chairing a table as opposed to joining the table as a guest, as an attendee? And would you recommend these online events to other people?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I think both positions, so as an attendee and as a table chair, are quite good, because I now enjoyed both positions. My taking from that is, as a table chair, you have the advantage to share your views, your experience with others, but it's so lively that you get immediate response and feedback. And I was so happy that out of this discussion, even I learned something, because there are challenging questions and ideas coming up. And so I took quite a lot out of sharing a session. But at the other end, if you just want to participate and listen in, you're so free to move between tables. If one topic is not so interesting at that particular moment, you just move on, join another table, and maybe this is much more interesting for your development or experience. So therefore, I think both is nice, and I can only recommend to join these roundtable events to extend your knowledge and to foster your background with new ideas, and yeah, I look forward to the next one. So therefore, very good.
That's great to hear. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So thank you for coming. I hope to see you again at one of our future events.
Thank you, Jean-Pierre.
Thank you. Just gonna stop the recording.